when somebody's able to manage a company or an organization or an entire country that's better than a president that doesn't have these moral dilemmas, that
Right.
doesn't have all the things that really prevent humans from making ethical and logical decisions, like why would you not go with that option? So I would say, if you're not studying AI a lot and figuring out how to use it to your advantage, then it's going to be hard to compete.
You're behind. Your competitors are doing it. Today's guest is very passionate about expanding your brand, so much so that he founded a company called Brand Expand. We're going to be going over a lot today on how you need to be working towards expanding your brand in 2026. And we're also going to be covering a lot about AI. This guest is very passionate about it. He's not on the doomsday train with me yet, but I think by the end of the episode, I might have gotten him, and they might even get used. Make sure you stick around to watch that. Today's guest is Seth Hurd. Welcome back for another episode of the Velocity Settlers Podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Pete. Appreciate it. Excited to get started and dive into the latest
Yes,
Q4 updates.
I'm excited too. It's coming. It's winding down here. Today's recording date is September 16th, so we're about a month out from the real busyness of it. I think we'll probably get some October Prime Day announcements soon, I would think, and kick off the Q4 season on Amazon, and of course for the rest of the e-commerce sites as well. They kind of follow suit with Amazon's dates and whatnot. So, but I'm excited to hop on and talk more about what we're seeing in 2025 so far, what brands should be looking for in 2026, and also more about just how to expand your brand. So, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm excited to jump in and chat. I'm sure AI is inevitably gonna
Yes.
take center stage at some point, but yeah, it's crazy how quickly things are evolving and how much more you can do with less these days, I guess.
hmm So the first things first is I want to just get right into the big question of, I think Amazon and this data could be different. I don't know. The last time I had, fact check this, but I think it counts for about 40% maybe of U.S. e-commerce sales,
Okay.
Amazon in total. And so give us, I mean, there's 60% left out there, right? Of course, but what is the point of expanding past Amazon, and how should brands determine when it's the right time to expand, if they should?
Yeah, I mean, I get this question a lot, and Walmart's always been kind of there, and sellers will try to sell on Walmart and not see a lot of success. But what we've seen is, we started this in 2019. We were about 95% Amazon, 5% Omni, and over the years it's shifted. It's about 60% now Amazon. So even though Amazon is still obviously the leader, we're starting to see a shift. And I always say, Walmart has been around for a long time. They have relatively the same sales as Amazon,
hmm
just the majority being brick and mortar.
Right.
And if you believe that, I think there's a stat out there, 90% of sales will be done online by the end of 2040. I know it's still a long ways away. Actually, not too long, 15 years.
We're getting kind of close.
Yeah, it's crazy to think. But yeah, I mean, Walmart will have to shift, their focus, and they're going to have to evolve. And you want to be at the center of that, right? And
Mhm.
and the reviews on Walmart are minuscule compared to Amazon for
Right.
every category, right? Like 10% of the reviews that you see on Amazon. And so getting that social proof isn't as challenging as it is on Amazon. So just positioning yourself to capitalize when that shift, I think, inevitably happens, right? If history's taught us anything, it's that one marketplace is not going to be dominant forever.
Correct.
There's rules against, monopolies and that type of behavior. So I think it'll shift. Target, Walmart being the big players, and then there's like narrow focuses like Chewy, for pets, and
Right.
so I always tell brands, maybe it's not Walmart or Target that you expand to, but whatever is really good for your product. Like my wife sells handmade purses. Etsy's a great marketplace for that. But finding the marketplace that complements your products and just getting there and being ready, positioning yourself for success. And you also see a lot higher margins on those channels, generally speaking. So it kind of makes up for the inconvenience of migrating.
Right. I can imagine your wife must get a great discount on her Brand Expand management package.
Yeah,
So,
we've used it a few times. Yeah,
yeah.
it's worked. It worked well for Etsy as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And those hyper niche ones are very interesting. We've done a lot of that too here at Velocity of saying, okay, you've done Amazon, your product. I mean, some products aren't meant for Walmart. I know we got on that, and we've had some things that we're like, all right, you're selling a more of a luxury end item, and yes, maybe they'll sell a few units online or in stores or both, but you really want to be playing on, like you said, Chewy for pets, maybe even the niche one. I'm thinking of like my local strip mall of like what
Mhm.
stores are in there. Like
Yeah,
Dick's Sporting Goods has the online thing. That's a little bit more exclusive. Same thing with Target, Staples. All the other places might be a little more exclusive, but it might be worth it to get in there because, like you said, it's just a little bit more niche, a little bit more focused on what people are looking for.
for sure.
So and
So yeah.
but speaking of Walmart, I mean, their sales were up. I want to say I think it was like 20%. I think I saw over the year over year so far in 2025. And which I mean, the importance of Walmart cannot be overstated. Like you said, it's catching up to Amazon online. It's a little bit of the ways off, but it's they do as much sales as Amazon does, just was split between that. Is Walmart? I mean, do you like you said, do you think there's going to be a shift? But do you think they're going to succeed at that? Do you think they're really going to be an Amazon too, or do you think Amazon will really just be going and kicking for the rest of the foreseeable future at least?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a post on LinkedIn recently. I don't think any executives at Walmart saw it, but I'm like, you have 62,000 plus super centers around America,
Right.
and I joke around like Walmart's like the one of the stores where like I dread going to, going
Hmm.
inside and trying to talk to somebody who doesn't want to be there and find
Right.
something that's inevitably not going to be stocked, or they have
Right.
20 in stock and then they go there, like recent experience, and there's nothing there.
Right.
And so, they need to shift to make those fulfillment centers really and have delivery drivers just send products, because when you talk about speed, which is a major component to why people use Amazon, right? Getting products sooner. I
Right.
mean, Amazon has a few hundred fulfillment centers on the US. So they're not going to be able to ship as quickly as Walmart. Everybody has a
Right.
Walmart within, 1 to 2 miles of them, generally speaking.
Mhm.
And so if they start shifting to more fulfillment centers and have delivery drivers, I mean, they'll be able to get products to you in less than an hour if they
Right.
really get the logistics right. And so, well, these big corporations obviously move much slower than they should, but I think it's inevitably going to happen. And then the other argument is the compound annual growth of Walmart far exceeds Amazon for online sales, because Walmart is 90% brick and mortar, right? And so year over year, you're going to see more and more growth on Walmart if they do survive, which I think they will, given their size. So I just think it's an opportunity, and things are happening slower than people would like, but I think brands should absolutely, if it makes sense for them, right? There's certain, like you said, there's certain products that don't do well in there, but if it's sports and outdoors, if it's food and beverage, I think does really well, right?
Mhm.
Certain categories should absolutely
Yeah.
be on there.
And of course, one of the biggest things is always price too. Walmart's big thing is, I forget what their logo is now, but I always remember it being more smiles for less or something like that.
Yeah.
Back when we were all the Walmart commercials when I was growing up. So their
Big
big thing is
yellow smile face. Yeah.
right.
Just
Right. Now it's like
bouncing
the
on
sunshine.
prices and knocking
Yes.
it down.
Right. And so that's their thing. That's their shtick. Like the same way that TikTok has the creative content. You're buying it from a person, not really from a brand kind of thing. And Amazon has, like you said, the logistics figured out, even though you're right, Walmart should be able to beat them if they put their minds to it.
Mhm.
Um, when a brand is sort of repositioning themselves, getting more into the expanding part, when a brand is repositioning or trying to expand, how do you help them think about these different things, and how do you help them think about how their brand is showing up on Walmart versus showing up on TikTok and Etsy and on their Shopify site and all the other places?
Yeah, I mean, so that's really what we're trying to solve with Brand Expand is, we have a flip side of a bunch of high intent shoppers, over
Hmm.
1.3 million visits to our site over the trailing 30 days. And so we really want to drive high intent shoppers to these marketplaces to help get sales, boost up visibility for relevant keywords, get in front of more organic customers, get feedback on their product, the entire customer experience, and then social proof where it makes sense. So
Mm.
marketplaces outside Amazon, we do what are called review requests, not incentivized, not required, but helps build social proof. And so really just getting on those marketplaces and positioning yourself, and then using a technology like Brand Expander or any others to drive customers there and try to
Mhm.
get some traction early is super important.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of the factors that come with expansion, I think, at least before we had our first episode, my thought was, expanding to another channel just instantly means sales growth. Instantly means, okay, we're going to do more than last month right away.
Mhm.
Is that realistic, or is there a better timeline you could give us to kind of figure out? Okay, we just expanded to this new website, and maybe it depends on what the website is, but what's the timeline for reasonable achievement in the sales department?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to so many different variables, mainly logistics. Where's your manufacturer located? How quickly can you stock products? Because you have to stock it at different fulfillment centers, depending on the marketplace. Um, there's always going to be an upfront cost, of stocking the inventory and then trying to get those sales, which is again one thing we try to solve is lowering that time frame, right? From when you stock and that inventory is sitting there accruing storage fees to actually, you know, inventory turnover, essentially accelerating that. But generally speaking, I mean, if you're, manufactured in the US, you can do it in 30, 60 days. If it's
Mhm.
overseas, it's probably going to take closer to 3 months to start seeing a return on that. But yeah, it really there's a lot of different variables I think that determine
Yeah,
that.
and
Yeah.
I would think it depends on the individual markets as well, right?
Sure.
Of like, again, my first thought is we list on Walmart, we're gonna get a good return right away, or I list on anything and I get a good return right away. But it
Mhm.
feels like it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's been different this year. I don't know how we can get into 2025 trends that you've seen. I'd love to talk about that as well, and just kind of get into the idea of what websites have you maybe been expanding to the most. Where have we seen the most success, and what are you looking for in the rest of 2025? So,
Yeah, I mean, TikTok Shop, I think they
mhm.
what they do really well is just lowering that friction. So somebody can go on there and start selling products relatively quickly, right? As opposed to Walmart or Amazon or Target, especially Target, that's invite only.
Yeah.
Getting sales on those marketplaces, that barrier to entry is much higher.
Mhm.
And so reducing that friction is key. And that's why we're seeing TikTok Shop really take off. And it's just the style that they use in terms of like impulsive type of buying and getting in front of millennials and Gen Z or Xers or whatever, the younger
All of them.
generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. um, but I would say TikTok Shop is by far, the dominant one that's up and coming that we
Right.
see a lot of sellers going to.
And do you think that'll continue next year? You think they'll be back-to-back winners? Or do you think there's something that a factor maybe if Walmart maybe does make this switch in early January that they could overtake TikTok for the most expand I guess this is a weird category of, where you're expanding the most because I feel like TikTok, again, I talk about this a lot, but 5 years ago, it was an app where you danced and you did funny trends, and now you're selling billions of dollars worth of merchandise on it.
Yeah.
And so it feels like something can flip pretty quick, but is there something that we should maybe be looking for in 2026 that is different than maybe what we saw this year?
I mean, TikTok is gonna, I think, become more and more dominant
Mhm.
just because it's more of like a complementary, like Shopify, for example. Like if you're selling on Amazon or Walmart, you probably have your own private store on Shopify. The margins are much higher. You're actually building a brand and getting access to your customers easier.
Mhm.
TikTok is more of a complementary type of marketplace where anyone that's on Amazon and Walmart and Shopify is likely going to be on TikTok because the barrier to entry is so low and
Right.
they can get so many sales very relatively quickly. And then any repeat sales, so if you're in consumables or anything that has repeat sales, it usually trickles over to Shopify, Walmart, Target, Amazon, just because they're easier to order from. So it's kind of what we're seeing is it's really kind of a separate launch platform to get sales quickly and then to get repeat sales on these other major marketplaces. And for that reason, I think it's going to continue being dominant because Walmart's more of, well, we have to take all these resources and all this working capital and move it over to this large marketplace. And it doesn't make sense to send 100 units or maybe even 1,000 units. TikTok, it's like, I can do that relatively easily. I don't have to really change my 3PL or my
Right.
fulfillment center, right? So I think it's going to continue being dominant, especially, going past, I think, the major barriers that they've done with the government regulations.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Especially if they partner with Amazon. for shipping. You know, you can use TikTok shop sellers can use their Amazon fulfillment, their Amazon inventory to fulfill orders from TikTok. That'd be huge. And
That'd be huge.
everyone that's listening to this right now and shaking their head saying that'll never happen. We said the same thing about when Amazon and Facebook teamed up and you could buy your products right from Amazon on Facebook. We said Bezos and Zuckerberg are never going to agree on anything. They're never going to shake hands, never going to do a deal. And now you can do that.
I
So,
mean, there's a price for everything, right? So
right,
Amazon's probably thinking, well, where does it make sense? I make a lot of money for storage fees, but they also see a lot of stocking issues,
right.
right? And so they would have a reason to move that inventory faster. And so if they have a fee that makes sense to fulfill, like multi-channel fulfillment, which they already do, they have a fee that makes sense. I don't think it's out of the question, you know?
Yeah. I would be interested to see if that happens.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be huge for both. Obviously, it would make Amazon a lot of money, and I honestly thought Amazon was gonna buy them back when they were having that legal
Yeah.
trouble
Yeah.
of, when they were like, "You have to get an American company to buy them." Um, but it'd be very interesting to see what they do, and again, that could make them the back-to-back winners of the biggest how do I phrase this? The biggest expansion the most brands expanded to award or something like that, I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's something along those lines could
Oh,
really shift the gears in 2026 even
yeah.
further in TikTok's favor, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, they could leverage TikTok as, the same way they leverage third-party sellers really
Right?
to accelerate their growth. TikTok could just be kind of a platform to help them.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just another like P&L item at that point,
right.
multi-channel fulfillment would just blow up. And so again, there's a point where that would make sense for Amazon. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that's out of the question for that to happen.
Right. And what are we expecting maybe what are we looking to or what are you guys seeing trend wise or what are you seeing trend wise at the end of the year this year? You know, quarter four, like I said, it's coming up. What
Yeah.
are we seeing? How are brands handling the fulfillment? Is it going to be tough again? Like I think what last year, 2 years ago, it was really tough to get. And over COVID, of course, it was really tough to get shipments from China. The containers were really expensive. Are we seeing anything like that starting to creep up now, or do you have your finger on anything there? I mean, is AI? We can talk about that too. I'd love to talk about AI. Although I see all of your posts about AI, I think, oh man, this is going to be a good episode about it. Um, but what are we seeing in Q4? What's coming up that is something that we should be aware of?
I mean, yeah, I've been on a few webinars and really AI is a dominant topic. And, um, generally like if somebody's not talking about AI, it's on purpose, like because they know everybody's going to be talking about it. But yeah, I mean, if you're not learning to leverage AI to do more with less, to create ideal images and videos, and optimize your product listing, I mean, you're behind the curve. And AI is taking off at unprecedented levels. And it's actually kind of not to get off the topic of e-commerce, but just AI in general and AGI and super intelligence is a very interesting topic, and it's going to impact e-commerce in many ways. I mean, there's a lot of jobs that people are doing that are going to go away because they're just not necessary. The people that are able to use the right prompts
Right.
and get the right images or listing copy, creation, marketing. I mean, so many things that AI has been replaced. You see these
Hmm.
agencies that I kind of joke when I started selling on Amazon, I actually had a light box with my product, and I'd take a picture and then I would Photoshop it. I mean, the things you can do nowadays is just insane. And um, so I would say, if you're not studying AI a lot and figuring out how to use it to your advantage, then it's going to be hard to compete.
You're behind. Your competitors are doing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really I'm on the doomer side. I'm on the side of this is going to be the end of the world here. You know, they're going to get into too much. We're going to have an AI president. Um, and that's going to be interesting to have to navigate and figure out. But yeah,
Hmm.
and it's something that I think brands can definitely use. Like I said, it affects e-commerce. It affects how you're interacting with your customers and how they view your brand and whatnot. Are
Yeah.
you guys using any AI at Brand Expand to help further that? Is there anything that that is open to the public knowledge that you can share that you've been using that like the tips for either helping expand your brand or again just in general doing better?
Sorry. Sorry. I was just looking up. Yeah, I'll answer that in a second. I was looking up. I watched this YouTube video, Diary of a CEO, that talks
Hmm.
about Roman Yapolsky, the AI guy
Yeah.
that's like into safety and everything, and I carry the same view. Like, I don't like to think of it as doomsday, but again, kind of getting off topic of e-commerce, but it's interesting, right? Because the way that it is actually e-commerce related, but the way that
Yeah.
corporations are set up, it's their main objective, if they're publicly traded, is to maximize shareholder value.
Right.
And so you see these companies like OpenAI that used to be open and
Hmm.
is now like closed and secretive. And their objective is to maximize shareholder value. And so you kind of have this runaway freight train that is moving towards super intelligence
Yeah.
at increasing speeds without really any regulation in place. So it'll be interesting to see how the next couple of years unfold. But what we do know is that that horizon to the point where um, its super intelligence is getting shorter and shorter. And people say, okay, 2040, now it's 2035, now it could be 2030.
Right.
So it's really difficult because it's like, how do you even stay in front of that?
Hmm.
In front of a system that is able to become more efficient than you at an exponential scale.
Right. It's almost evolving itself, faster than we can even
Yeah.
do it, which is very, again, very alarming.
That's like singularity, where it
Yeah.
becomes so advanced where it's able to replicate itself more efficiently without human intervention. And there's also experiments that they've done. I think Google did it with Willow, where they had the supercomputer basically simulate the universe and tell it like, what is your findings, is like, oh, I'm at the center of the universe, and they tried to shut it down and it imprinted itself into
Right.
the code. So when they turned it back on, they expected it to start over, but it already had a lot of memory from the
Hmm.
prior time it ran, and they were like, how is that even possible? Well, they found that it imprinted certain parts of the code.
Right.
So we're already seeing like this inability to shut AI down. So
You
super
got to join
interesting.
me on the doomsday train, Seth, after
I,
hearing that.
yeah.
And Dareb just sent me something too that apparently Albania has appointed the world's first AI minister. And I know there's an AI as a baseball fan. I know there's the next year the Oakland A's are being managed by an AI.
I mean,
So it's a little interesting.
but when somebody's able to manage a company or an organization or an entire country that's better than a president, that doesn't have these moral dilemmas, that
Right.
doesn't have all the things that really prevent humans from making ethical and logical decisions, like, why would you not go with that option?
It's fair. It's just what makes me scared.
Yeah,
Like the more that
100%.
we start
No,
to
it's
replace
terrifying.
people, right? I'm on the doomsday train. I'm on this we have to somewhat, I think, draw a line maybe potentially in the sand, and say, okay, listen, we can't have AI doing any political work. We can't have them managing
It's,
anything beyond,
yeah.
that could affect other people. But I don't know. I don't know. And I say that, but it's kind of hypocritical because again, we use AI here, and I know every company again now, like you said, if you don't use AI, what are you doing? And that does affect other people in some way. But I think there has to be somewhat of a line. But we'll
Yeah,
see.
I think
We'll
now
see.
it's the way it is now, it might be okay, right? But the problem is that it's advancing so quickly that it could do stuff in the future, like if it's managing a team, organization, or country that is like far more advanced than we could even comprehend. Like, like take you down a
Right.
trajectory and it's essentially doomsday. It's like, and you wouldn't know
Right.
because it's far more intelligent than you, right? So you can't even comprehend
Yep.
like what its next steps are. Like there's I think AI recently won 5 out of the 6 like international mathematics competitions. In just a few years ago, couldn't even do general algebra, and
Right. And
now it's
yeah,
winning competitions. And
like you said it. You said it best. It's a speeding train that's shaking on the rails. I would say. I don't think it's off the rails yet. Maybe it is, and maybe there's people that know more than me,
uh, but the
that would
biggest
say that
problem
it's
is just not having like a board overseeing
right.
what we're developing, and a lot of these developers don't even really know. Like, they give it a ton of data and access to trillions of data points,
Right.
but they don't know like what it's going to come back with, right? And so and then and then you look at these two global superpowers, really China and Russia and that, and then the US. And it's like, okay, the US finds ways to regulate AI and really has a I think just having a narrow scope of what it does is
Mhm.
and not do general intelligence, just have narrow pathways where people operate is important.
Mhm.
And what happens with the East, like
No.
they're not gonna all of a sudden stop
Y
developing it. And then whoever
yeah.
figures it out, whoever wins the tech race is really inevitably gonna win the entire race, right? Because it impacts so much.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's the same thing like when I mean, again, just how far we've come as a people as well. You think about that too. And again, I brought this up with TikTok earlier. You think about how fast TikTok came and became this giant social commerce platform
Yeah.
in just a few years. And now we've got AI that, like you said, 5 years ago couldn't formulate a basic sentence or had to basically you had to feed it everything for it to give you anything. Now you just type in a little prompt on ChatGPT and it gives you everything you could ever want.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to see how this will evolve and to sort of try and tie it back into e-commerce to see
Yeah.
how it'll affect sellers and how it'll affect sellers and customers alike. Um,
Yeah.
how it's going to be more intuitive in the brand, and that I know people at least that say I don't want to buy anything from someone that has a clearly AI image in their listing or in their on the TikTok if they're using AI videos. I think pretty soon you're not going to even be able to know.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it becomes very interesting after that. It's like, well, what do you do? Do you have to have a disclaimer saying this is I mean, if they wanted that, they would have done it already, and they're not.
Mhm.
Um, so it's just
Yeah.
it's
I always,
interesting.
like yeah. Yeah, exactly. You made a good point. Like, if they knew it was AI generated, but very soon, I think even now, there's some images that you can't tell the difference.
Yeah, I get
Like
got.
before.
I get got
Yeah,
sometimes. They're like, someone show me something, and I'm like, that's so crazy. I'm like, you're an idiot. This is AI. It's like
yeah,
bunnies bouncing on a trampoline at night. Like this is so obviously AI, and I fall for it. I think it's real. I'm like, that's so
yeah,
cool. They're doing that, but
yeah.
I don't know.
And just 2 years ago, they couldn't even get the hands right, and now they
Right,
create like movies that
right.
you can't really tell. But I always joke, e-commerce. Like, we're not gonna have robots buying stuff, right? So
Hmm.
you're always gonna have consumers that want to buy stuff, and so it's we're in a safe space in terms of filling a need and not
Hmm.
having it be replaced by AI if you're in commerce. And so you're always gonna have buyers and sellers, and to kind of get back to what we're doing with AI. One of the big things is getting relevant feedback from your customers. Like that's
Hmm.
super important. So one thing we do is we get all the feedback on the product, the listing, how much they like the listing, and how much they like the delivery experience, the packaging, the product quality, and then we use AI to summarize all that. We ship out all this feedback from hundreds of buyers to AI, summarize it, and then it comes back packaged nicely and then shipped to the seller's dashboard on Brand Expand so they can see like how do my customers view my product listing and the actual purchase experience. And that just helps them make more educated decisions, improve conversion rates because they're improving the customer experience, and then driving sales and conversion rates up is what creates that explosive growth. So
Right. I would take everything you just said and use it to sort of disagree with your point about
okay,
robots. There's always going to be people purchasing things
yeah, yeah,
because I think at some point you'll have your own personal AI assistant. It'll know you. It'll know your habits, and maybe if you don't have to opt into it, I'll never opt into it. So I will be one of the people that buys things still. But I
yeah,
think some people will start to have AI. We're already doing things like we're doing GEO. We're trying to appeal to AI to say, hey, put my product.
yeah,
If someone types into ChatGPT and says, what's the best umbrella for the rain? Put
exactly,
my product in front of there, and that's how they,
yeah,
they buy that product. They say, "Here's my link to Amazon." I think eventually robots will start to be buying things for people to say, "Okay, hey, you have gone, it's been a week and you're out of something in your fridge. Like I'm
sure,
going to add it to your Amazon list and I'm going to order it and I'm going to buy it." And I think that'll maybe not for a while, hopefully not ever. But I
yeah,
think that will be something that we have to again use for GEO. We have to appeal to these things. We have to be able to come at them and say, "Listen, you should put this on this person's list because they need it and it's the best product for this thing." I don't know, something like that. But I
yeah,
heard
yeah,
that take on one of my other recordings and it was very scary because I thought, oh wow, I think I know a lot of people that would opt into that and would do it.
yeah. No, that's a
So
great point. And when I
yeah.
mentioned AI wouldn't be buying, so I meant like robots themselves wouldn't be buying for themselves. But I
Oh,
100%
oh, oh.
agree. I mean, eventually you're going
Yeah, that
to
makes sense.
have like, yeah, why would you not have? I
Right.
mean, you made a good point. Like opting into that is like you're giving up a lot of freedom and information about yourself, which is kind of creepy. But I would
Yeah.
say the majority of people, if they could have this artificial like assistant that just always makes sure the toilet paper is stocked, always make sure their
Right.
fridge is stocked with milk, like whatever. And I mean, you're making things easier, right? That's how
Yes.
evolution works. It's like always moves towards the path of least resistance. So
Mhm.
if this is able to just make your life easier and you don't have to worry about what you're going to buy or so you made a really good point,
Right.
GEO, getting like before it was SEO, right? Making sure your Google listing was showing up.
Right.
Now it's AI, doing what's required to make sure when somebody types in what's the best water bottle, that your products, showing up. I'm sure
Right.
Stanley was at the top of those results, but
Up there, Hydro
yeah,
Flask maybe.
yeah,
But
hydroponics, yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting just to see, and like I said, we see the theme here is we're evolving so quickly. If you haven't expanded your brand in 2025, you're behind. If you haven't started using AI in 2025, you're behind. I
Mhm.
mean, that's just simply what it is. But if you said that mm, 2, maybe 3 years ago, he said, "Oh, I'm not really using AI," or, "I'm slowly starting to move to another website or
Mhm.
another marketplace." Everyone's like, "Okay, whatever. No rush.
Yeah.
You're on Amazon, right? Your listings are doing good, right? Then you're
Mhm.
fine."
Yeah.
Now it's completely different. So it's
Yeah.
very interesting to see where this will go in the next
Yeah.
couple of
And I think
years.
there's a really
So,
big opportunity to help with GEO and help with search relevancy on these AI platforms because that's I mean that's what's going to become dominant here in the
right,
coming years. Like you said, people aren't going to use Google, probably won't even start their search on Amazon. Why not start your search on Perplexity or another platform that has access to more data points, more information,
right.
and even knows you on a personal level and say, hey, what's the best? My wife and I planned our honeymoon with AI. And, I just put in a
Whoa.
really lengthy prompt about everything that
Yep.
we enjoy doing, like what we like for restaurants, what we
Mhm.
type of activities we like doing. And then every city we went to, I was like, create the ideal itinerary that lowers like the time for transportation to get from our hotel to this point and this point to this point. And it created the ideal itinerary.
Is it
So
good? Did you follow that? Did it work?
yeah, it worked great. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I
See,
didn't tell my
that's
buddy. My buddy's a travel agent
uh
and he was gonna plan it for us. I didn't have the heart to tell him that
hey, yeah, I did it in 2 seconds with
you know,
with AI. And I agree, things are gonna get easier. I think they should be easier. I think at some point you gotta ask, what do we do with the jobs that AI is effectively kind of destroying?
yeah.
Um, and that's a question for potentially another episode to have you back
Yeah.
on maybe in a few months here and see kind of where we're at with AI. So,
Yeah. It'll be
I'm gonna
interesting.
bank that. I'm gonna bank that so I can get you back on.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Um, but Seth, thank you so much for coming on today and
Thank
talking to
you,
us
Pete.
more. Any final thoughts on? I know we kind of branched out into mostly AI, but any final thoughts on expanding your brand in 2026? What should people be looking at? Any tips for them, and any final thoughts, of course, also on AI and how we're all doomed.
Yeah. I mean, I know sellers don't like this, but getting stock sooner than later. Like you should be restocking now, probably a week ago to start ordering inventory and getting restocked and
Right,
FBA. There's always time delays this time of year.
right,
Amazon always seems to roll out some update that makes it less convenient for third party sellers. So like just make sure you're getting stocked sooner than later. And accelerating sales sooner than later, like boosting search relevancy, getting in front of customers, ramping up marketing efforts before it's too late, because if you start just a week or two before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, it's already going to be too late. You want to get up and so yeah, just thinking ahead.
yeah, love it, perfect. Well, I want to thank you again for joining
For
us. I
sure.
appreciate you
Thank
hopping back
you.
on for our episode, and we'll see you back for our another. I want to potentially all about AI, and again, once again, how we're kind of maybe
Yeah.
potentially doomed. So,
We'll have to revisit in 26 and hopefully
yes,
it's not an AI bot that's on on the other side of the screen.
right. It'll be an AI. It'll be an AI me. I'm going to train an AI person to
Yeah.
interview. That's what's going to happen, and then they're going to fire me. They're going to
Yeah.
take me out back, and I'm done. They're going to kick
And
me
then
out.
I'll have an AI person that does the interview and then
Could you imagine 2 AI bots interviewing each other? That is actually, I have seen those very creepy of them talking to each other, where like they set it up where it's like the voice activated thing. I think it
yeah.
was Gemini and maybe another one, and they were Like Gemini would say something and the other one would answer based on the prompt that
That's so
Gemini gave
creepy.
it, and then it would go back. It was very creepy.
And then
Um,
see where the conversation goes.
v-
They should do that. They should
yeah,
let 2 language models
right.
go against it, and if it steers in a doomsday direction, like, we have our
Sh-
answer, right?
Shut it down. It's
Shut
gonna imprint anyway, so it doesn't matter. We're already doomed. Like it's game over. So hopefully we're not at that point. I hope both of us are people still next
For
year
sure.
when we have our next episode. So
Yeah,
stay tuned for that, everybody, to see if we are not people anymore and we're just AI, all AI bots ordering things for our humans. Hopefully we're not. So Seth, once again, thank you
thanks,
so much
Pete.
for joining us.
Thanks, Pete, appreciate it, man. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me again.
of course. Seth, we can reach you at your LinkedIn, which I'll have linked down below, and the Brand Expand website. Anything else to throw in down below?
What we'll do is we'll offer $100 into the wallet if any sellers want to join the platform. What we always do is we'll drop $100. You can test it out, risk free, doesn't cost anything for you. So we'll give you a promo code for that, Pete.
Wonderful. That sounds great. Make sure to
Yeah.
use code, hopefully something Velocity, Velocity Pete, maybe Velocity Seller or something like that. We'll figure that out.
We'll do something velocity, BX velocity, Pete. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but
Wonderful.
or
Love it.
we'll take it.
Sounds good. Make sure to check out all of those things down in the description down below. And thank you all for watching. I am your host, Velocity Pete, and we will see you next week.